Hey everybody, welcome back to Chris Anderson Comics. I am joined with a very special guest today, my friend Jamie Jones. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing well. You've got
Good.
a pair of new books
I do.
that are hitting, so we're going to talk about those today. Your first one is called Spakow. So tell me a little bit about this.
I wanted to do an anthology book. I think I've wanted to do an anthology book for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and pulp action is kind of where my bread and butter is. And pulp action, Spakow. It worked. This is my anthology book. This is kind of my new focus.
Okay.
On a lot of things.
Is this digital painting or traditional painting for the cover?
Traditional painting. Yeah,
Wow.
it's all of my painting, all of my covers for like all the Baboon books and all of everything that I've been doing has all been traditional painting.
Man,
Just wash on board.
I don't get it at all. I don't get how to do it. So it's featuring a few different stories in here. So the Pulp Action magazine. They call him the Wizard Cowboy, the fastest draw in the 5 realms. I love it.
Yeah.
And so we kind of get going here, and you start out with these Baboon Dailies that you've been doing on your Substack.
Yeah. I wanted a way to put the book in print, or put the strips that I've been doing in print, and this seemed like as good a place as any. You have, I think by the time I put this book out, I had done 130 strips, so it was like, all right, I can either wait until I produce a hardcover book for all of those strips, or I can just start putting them in magazine format. And I like old, the Nemo library books that Fantagraphics put out in the 80s.
Yeah.
Those magazines had a lot of strips in them. They have articles about cartoonists, and that is a fanzine for comic strips specifically. But that was one of my biggest inspirations for this stuff was, the Spirit magazine and the Nemo magazine, Dragon Lady Press, which was, I guess, a kitchen sink thing.
Yeah.
Just different strip magazines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love the format for it. And so this is something that's daily you're putting out from your onto your Substack, so people can continue to check the story out here. I'm not going to go over this story super close because it's going to be in the next book that we're going to look at too, right? So
yeah.
So what else we find in here are things like this one, like your cartooning style is different in this one a little bit.
Yeah, I am only using Papermate flare pens and
oh wow, okay, I can
some
see it
combo stuff.
Trophy here,
Yeah. Well, that was Toth famously loved the Papermate flare pen, and I was like, I'm just going to do a whole book with a Papermate flare pen and maybe some brush pens here and there. But yeah, it's wild. Something that I've noticed about my work stylistically is when I change tools, it feels so different.
Yeah.
That I'm like, yeah, it's the same thing. I'm drawing the same way, but when I change tools for whatever reason, it goes.
Yeah,
it swings real hard.
I feel the same way. Yeah, you can definitely tell. You can definitely tell that there's a different. You have like a different attitude with this.
Yeah. And Lorenzo Colt was I did my first mini comic ever was a Baboon mini comic, and I just like made this character Lorenzo Colt because I wanted the Baboon to fight vampires. And I was like, yeah, there's going to be this occult guy that he's fighting vampires with. And,
I like
a lot of Spakow is me taking characters from the Baboon and spinning them off into their own stuff.
Sure.
I've got coming up in the magazine, I've got a couple of guest artists doing full blown, just like mini comics, 8-pagers, 10-pagers of secondary characters from the book and bringing them into, giving them their own moment. That's awesome. That's the goal with this magazine. So.
I love this panel here. That drawing of this guy here, it feels like like something from Mort Cinder or something, you know?
Yeah, thanks.
So good. And then you kind of like wax about nostalgia and you know, you get into some, you know, Terry and the Pirates discussion and stuff about the Saturday Evening Post and, you know, just kind of where this kind of came from, huh?
Yeah, and my kind of disdain for nostalgia as a guy who, like, when people say, "Oh, Jamie, your stuff is so nostalgic," I'm like, what do you mean?" Because I try very hard to not make stuff feel nostalgic. I reel from it a lot because I want things to feel like they are made in our time period. I think a lot of times when you I will say this with the biggest caveat. I love Indiana Jones. I think the problem with Indiana Jones is that it's set in the 40s.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like, well, we have to deal with Nazis because that's what's going on.
Right.
And I think being able to take away that element of you know, Terry and the Pirates or Buzz Sawyer or stuff like that was coming out that were responding to a time period where there are, you know, you have racist character drawings and characters, like, that's part of what was going on at the time because you were trying to be rah-rah war, right?
Yeah.
And being able to take a look at what is the pulp genre and then take the kind of negative parts of that in 2024 out of it and still infuse that sense of action and adventure without having to make a direct political statement. I think it's kind of like, so it's not, I don't want to be nostalgic. I know it feels, you know, I love the stuff that I love, but my intent primarily is to make stuff as if it was coming out during those guys.
Sure.
My favorite cartoonist of all time is Jack Cole.
Okay.
And you can, Plastic Man, which came out in the 40s, right, holds up like it would come out today.
Yeah.
And there's a really nice, pleasant, Plastic Man is the most pleasantly readable thing for old comics into new comics.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of it's me trying to like defend myself as a guy, not trying to just be like, I'm not just doing something nostalgic. I'm playing with the tropes.
Yeah. You're using the delivery system and updating it with modern stories.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for taking my very long 2-page essay and distilling it into a sentence.
Well, it's funny when people say nostalgic too, because nostalgia is like a personal thing, and unless you grew up in the 30s and 40s, you know, like it can't possibly be nostalgic to you.
Right.
It can be a throwback to something.
Yeah.
You know, but
one of the things I do post about, or I do write about in the article, is like, I didn't start reading the pulp stuff that I'm pulling from until I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
Right. None of that stuff even affected me.
Yeah.
And then I found a love for it later on and went, oh, I'm going to do this. And then, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily nostalgic. It's definitely, I'm trying to retroactively figure out what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and I feel very cold when I talk about that stuff.
So here's our wizard, our cowboy wizard.
Yeah.
And again, it just feels different. You know, this is more of these are more of like comic book pages as opposed to like the strip stuff that you had, you know?
Yeah. And drawing in this magazine format is so much fun. Getting a little bit wider of a page.
Yeah. Though if you're drawing on 11 by 17, like you would a standard page, I know when I worked on heavy metal, you would think that you would have, when you're drawing a magazine size that's printed larger, you would have more space to work with. But the truth is you're cutting off a lot of the bottom of the 11 by 17 page. So you're actually drawing in a smaller area.
So I work for all of my normal stuff, normal comic book size stuff is on 11 by 14 with an 8 by 12 live area.
Sure.
So I'm working smaller anyway.
Right.
So this stuff is almost a full 11 by 14.
Gotcha.
So I do get to go up a little bit, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Your line work on here feels so much different. You know, like you said, like every time you have a different tool or something, it's you get a different feel for it. Yeah, these are great pages. I don't want to give too much of this story away. I want people to buy this, you know. We'll get into the baboon in a minute. And then you got this final like little page of cartoony stuff, which is I love how you end it there.
Yeah, I want to do more. Like what I love about having a magazine, an anthology magazine specifically, is just like this is how I draw in my sketchbook.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of characters that I like to draw, like hobo guys with pipes, and that's super fun to draw. And I've wanted to do a hobo comic for a really long time.
Yeah.
And Lenny Lai pops up all the time and stuff. And it just kind of worked that I was like, oh yeah, I'll just make a page and put him in there.
There's something about the 30s and the hobo lifestyle that I'm sort of drawn to too, which is there's a lot of that going on in Three-Headed Pigman. And the other thing that made me like say, okay, that is the book that I'm going to do next is because he does have these three distinct heads. One of them is cartoon, one of them is regular, and one of them is this like demonic boar. So I can tell a horror story.
Yeah.
I can tell a regular kind of like superhero comic-y story if I want. And then I can go and I can tell a cartoon world set story, you know, and they all, I can do anything that I want with it. And that's, you know, sort of what this magazine, you know, does for you too.
Yeah.
Great. This is great.
I had an extra page.
Yeah.
And that Steve Martin documentary came out and I was like, oh yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. And then I like a last little comic strip on the back. And people can get this at bowtiepress.com.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's all on my big cartel, which I think is bowtie.press is the website.
I'll make sure
there's a link to the shop from there.
So you put this out, issue number 1, and then at the same time you're starting to print your dailies. So the Baboon Dailies. So you've been doing this for a while. We were talking at IC3, and you were like, you know, I had a good long run of padding, and I ran out of that real fast.
Real fast. I had a 2-month
crazy
pad.
How quick it goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's another great, like, is this squash?
Yes. Yeah.
That looks great. It's a cast of characters. So the Baboon is the character that you've sort of been serializing for a while now. God, how many
5 years?
5 years.
Wild.
Yeah, and so he's just a great like pulpy throwback character, but again, set you're using it for like in modern storytelling devices.
Yeah, it's I purposefully don't have him set in a time period, and I can have a cell phone if I want. I can, or everyone talks on hand phones because I find that more interesting to draw.
Sure.
But communicators and all of that stuff. I don't necessarily read Dick Tracy and think, oh yeah, this is set in the
40s or whatever.
Yeah.
30s, yeah. So you got Baboon here. He's sort of like been told that he needs to kind of go on a quest and find this action reporter guy. Huh?
Yeah.
Who's been kidnapped and is being held in this like Russian palace. And I love it. They got this guy tied up, and he like takes like it's like a cyanide pill and crunches it, but he like totally disintegrates.
Totally dissolves. Yeah.
Oh my God. to where like the chair even splits in half. That's such a great drawing.
Yeah.
And then you're just are you just using a brush on this? Or are you drawing?
It's pretty much all brush. It's a number 2 silver black velvet.
Okay.
Is my brush of choice.
Is that like the synthetic Winsor Newtons?
It's a synthetic squirrel hair blend.
Yeah.
I started using those when sable hair got banned, like 7-8 years ago?
Yes.
And the art store that was down the street from the comic shop had a massive sale on things that weren't sable hair.
Okay.
And so I was able to pick up and try. They were like, "Hey, please try all these other brushes." And I picked up like a ton for like $5 a piece.
Yeah.
And I've been using those ever since.
Yeah.
I never went back to the more expensive brush. They're about $15 a pop, but they're super solid. I've been using them for 8 years.
Yeah.
I just kind of found the brush I like.
Mm-hmm.
They're not as springy. That's something I like about them.
Yeah. I use those once in a while too. But you get a great line quality out of it. So you kind of see where this guy is in this prison. He's just sort of like eating like stuff off the wall. To make himself sick here. He wants to like plan to get out of there. So he sort of like finds a scalpel in the doctor's room and stabs this guy in the eye. He's trying to get out, but in the meantime, the baboon and this pilot are able to kind of go after him. And I love this boom, this sonic boom from it. There you go, using the environment for the letters.
Yeah.
I love that. So he just kind of jumps out of the plane and parachutes into this like area, but everybody knows who the baboon is, so it's like not like he can like sneak super well, because when the henchmen see him, they're like, it's the baboon.
Yeah.
So, but he's he's not gonna shy down from a whole bunch of people,
a bunch of guys.
No, he just takes them on.
1 against 7, fair enough. That's that was these strips on that left page was a whole week, right? It was one panel a day, one strip a day,
right?
And the payoff. I've talked to so many people, and they were like, "Man, that was a wild week of payoff." And I was like, "Yeah, but when it's in print, it's gonna look so good."
Yeah.
So,
and then so he's got there's this hawk, or hawk is kind of watching him and flies off and goes to this guy who is the head of the castle, I guess you'd say, the main, our big bad.
Yes,
they've caught him, and they've caught the reporter, and they're hauling him out. And so he's like, I could just kill you, but let's do this right. Here's a sword. Let's do this. And so he's actually kind of proves himself to be able to hold his own a little bit for a little scrawny guy.
Yeah. This is my favorite stuff to do. Sword fighting stuff. I was an actor for a really long time, a stage actor, and my favorite thing, being I was trained in like sword and dagger, and that was kind of what I ended up doing. So whenever this kind of stuff comes up, sword fighting stuff, I'm always like, all right, this is how you hold a sword, this is how you parry.
Right. Yeah, the choreography and all the little intricate things that normal people, like somebody like me, would have gotten completely wrong.
Yeah, it's just some of my favorite stuff is like getting the choreography right.
So he like tosses the sword at him, and it stabs the guy in the arm, but he loses his sword because of it. And then you got these moments here where, you know, the baboon's trying to like blend in, you know, but it doesn't go too well.
Right.
You know, he's already spotted. And then you know, the journalist gets stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah, straight stabbed.
Just straight stabbed. And then finally, you know, you get the baboon, you know, still working it, trying to get in, but you know, he sees what's going on down there. And he uses this like sculpture of the baboon uses a sculpture of a bird, which actually reacts.
Which is, I saw a Rich Tommaso comic do it.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, God, if Rich is doing it, I'm going to do it.
It's a little funny, yeah. And he ties it to this curtain and uses it as a grappling hook. It gets out of there just in time, swings over. And I was reading it. I was reading your dailies as this was going on, and I was like, this is too much fun. Like I just couldn't wait for the next day. So if you're not subscribed, go subscribe to his Substack in the show notes. And you know, go for the paid version.
Yeah.
So yeah,
paid version gets comics. That's the they get sent comics. That's the
you know. And it's not that much. Come on, people.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's trying to go up, and he just like cuts the line, and it's like, you know, baboon ain't gonna save you. But you know, it's the baboon. He's gonna pull out all stops. He finally gets up there, and they start fighting. And you know, the radio that he's trying to communicate with everybody in, it's not working too well, right?
Right. Yeah, it cuts off pretty quickly.
Yeah. So that their way out of there isn't really hearing them well. So they and this is like another side story here. So this is like the baboon's nephew. Is that what this is?
This is the crew. This is okay. Yeah. So we cut over to the chief back in the chief's office, and then there's some stuff going on, and the crew comes in, and it's Clayton, Brick, and Mel. They're all the respective. Clayton's the best friend and kind of the tax guy at the offices, but he's a frogman. You've got Brick as the demolitions expert, and Mel is the pilot, and you got Clayton coming in and just popping the chief, right? Yeah. Walking into a government facility and punching the head of the guys.
Yeah, that's always a good thing to do.
Yeah, yeah, and
yeah. So they get their marching orders to kind of go and get them, and they the place is heavily fortified, so they're firing.
Yeah,
you know, all these guns at them.
This the last panel on that page is just, I was like, oh, if I've introduced the rest of the crew, I have to tell you what the sidekick's doing. Yeah, and he's just at school.
Yep, I love that.
Just like
you take a brief pause to see.
Yeah. Meanwhile, sidekicks have to go to school. He's so bored.
So they just get overwhelmed with gunfire, and it crashes there. But they're able to get up to the top here eventually.
It's wild seeing this stuff in like so much of it in one thing. Like that crash was strip 100.
Right.
So I was like, oh, we'll do something really big for strip 100. And so yeah, big crash. And then it goes back into the thing, and it's like, now we're just flipping through pages. It's wild. I love it, but it's crazy.
So he has this thing where he kind of gets shot here.
Yeah.
And you see like his heartbeat, you know, it skips there for a minute. And he said, he just winged me. But, you know, clearly he seems like he's hurt a little bit more than that. Yeah,
and then he's going to,
throw some dynamite.
Throw some dynamite.
Yep. You know, make a distraction there. So they're going, and now it's the crew versus this guy. Well, the baboon's a little bit knocked down, and he throws them all into this like pit. Basically, he's got this little thing that opens the floor up, you know, a la Return of the Jedi Rancor pit.
Yeah.
And when they light the Zippo, you can see that these are like giant saber-toothed tigers in there. So, you know, that's not good. And what does he light here?
He takes one of the what does he light there? Some part of his coat, I guess. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And tosses it to the fire, to the things. The tigers do not like the fire, as you can see. And so does he light another
grenade? Another
TNT blows a hole in it, and so that's how they finally get out of the place. And so at this point, they're kind of stranded in Russia now.
Yeah.
No communications, no plane, no way to get back. So it's
crazy. What's crazy is like the next strip, they're back home. I don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. Strip 131 is Jamie coming out of school, and then the baboon is got his arm in a sling.
That's okay. We can jump time like that. Yeah. You know, like, all right, we made it home. So, and then you got a ad for Spakow in here, the magazine. So, and then, you know, your other older versions of it. So you're still running these like pretty close to daily. I mean,
I do it every other day now.
Yeah. Every other day, right?
Yeah.
And then, so how often are you going to plan on releasing dailies? Is this going to be like quarterly or
every? Whenever I finish an arc,
okay,
or I'll run. So right now I'm on strip 200's about to be done. Nice. So that is, I don't know how long this second arc's going to be. These I printed, so I've been serializing them through Spakow as well. Okay. And the goal is to continue to serialize them through Spakow. And when they're long enough, collect them into these magazines.
Sure.
But these are kind of like, I don't plan on reprinting these.
Sure.
Like Spakow, I plan on keeping in print. That's, but the regular Baboon Daily magazine, I'll do it. You know, I did a small print run, and I'll print the second one when it comes out, and then I'll print the third one if there's ever a third one. Sure. The goal is to put it in a hardcover.
Yeah, eventually.
So it matches the rest of the stuff.
That's awesome. Well, all right. So people can get these at your store. I'll put links to the store in the show notes. But really, the main thing is we're trying to, help Jamie grow his Substack here. So I will put a link to the Substack in there, and go in. And like you said, paid subscribers get books. So
that's That's the thing. If I can get more paid subscribers, I'll just do this full time.
I hear you. That's my goal. My 2024 goal is to grow my Patreon, and it's slowly but surely going. I think it's a really good thing for cartoonists if you can get people, get that heave ho and get people to start backing it. But man.
Yeah.
These are really awesome. I know I look forward to my emails when they pop up from your stuff, and I hope other people are turned on to this and go sign up. And dude, thank you so much for coming on.
No, man, thank you. Yeah, this was great.
Yeah, thanks, man. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Join my Patreon to see my work before anyone else, plus score physical sketchbooks, mini comics, and commissions delivered right to your door, and read my new books, Something Seems Off and Three-Headed Pigman, as they are made. Go to my website to order original art, commissions, and my books, Lost Angels, Spectral: A Showcase of Fear, Chaotic Neutral, and more. Gray Matter Drip, The Art of Chris Anderson, is available now from Cosmic Lion Productions. Here are the upcoming conventions I'll be at the time of this recording. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. It helps spread the word. Thanks.